Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp, and today we have a review of the lovely looking Graveyard Keeper. Thanks to all of our new subscribers, we're marching towards 40,000 and we couldn't be more pleased. Hours upon hours upon hours fixing virtual graves. That's not something I expected to be contemplating this time last week, I'll be honest, launching myself through my friend Pedro. Yet here we are, Tiny Build and developer Lazy Bear have bought the popular PC Stardew Valley meets One Foot in the Grave 'em Up as Switch. Can a game about burying dead people be fun?
I don't believe it!
Let's find out. After a short story introduction which sees the main protagonist hit by a car, he finds himself in an unusual alternate reality. Thrust into the role of a lowly graveyard keeper, you struggle to come to terms with what has just transpired. Nobody seems to take your plea seriously, and soon you'll be getting on with the daily grind that is graveyard keeping. And boy oh boy does it put the grind into daily grind. Your first task is to restore the dilapidated mess that is the work of your predecessor. You won't find reams of tutorial levels or hidden manuals through which to learn the multitude of systems. Instead, you're given a few tidbits from a talking skull. As far as I can tell, this isn't Murray from the Monkey Island series, but he has all the wit and charm of that popular fan favourite. My first hour was spent hacking away at bushes and trees with the supplied rusty tools and watching the sunset, going to bed, waking up, rinsing and repeating. I knew what I had to do, fix the graveyard, but I had no clue how to do it. And as I scratched away at this world with my rusty shovel, axe and pickaxe, I began to take notice of the ever-growing pool of points at the pinnacle of the screen, staring accusingly down at me from their lofty heights, saying, "Why haven't you spent us, you fool? We are the bloody experience points, not your health and mana pool, as you so dim-wittingly think." And lo, it dawned on me, these are my experience points. Opening up the skill trees is as daunting as my rather hopelessly inefficient introduction to the game. Here you have several different paths pertaining to different areas of learning. One will cover the crafting and forging of new items and gear. Another guides the anatomical understanding for carrying out autopsies, while there's theological, guile, writing, farming, smithing, building, and finally cookery, each to master. And each has its own tree of those points I definitely didn't think were some form of health. Which will allow you to upgrade them. The last of these, the blue, come into the game a little later. The first two will be gained through almost every action you undertake. There is very little downtime in Graveyard Keeper, with always something you can be doing, but juxtaposed to this is the fact that you're also under no real time pressures, other than a corpse rotting if left out in the sun for too long, but hey, that's kind of expected. Once you've come to terms with the basics of leveling and learning new skills, you begin building up your work yard. From this you can build headstones, crosses and other graveyard accoutrements to pimp your yard. Through this and repairing the grave sites, you'll see a score begin to climb, showing the current level of the churchyard. All the while, bodies will be deposited by your morgue daily, with a percentage showing their current state of decay. When on the slab, the next huge and complex mechanic reveals itself. The Autopsy. You see, every corpse belonged to someone who was either quite nice or probably a little bit bad. The white skulls here represent the good deeds the person did, while the red are the sins. The mini game of Autopsy is trying to remove the body parts that will with them take away the negative traits. If you get the wrong part, you can attempt to put them back in, but the risk is you'll mess things up and make the body permanently worse, giving less white skulls. What the hell does this even mean, I hear you ask? Ah yes. Well, when you plant them, bury them back in the earth at the graveyard, you'll see a number appear over their grave, combined with your efforts to decorate the gravesite that determines the overall impressiveness, if you will, of the overall area. There's also some mild cannibalism that takes place with the meat you acquire from the bodies, but I won't go too far into that one just right now. With every body you bury, you're given a burial certificate, and while you can later exhume particularly sinful corpses to make the whole place better, you'll want to take those to the town to get some money early on. Once you've hit +5, then you'll be rewarded by being put in charge of the church. Through preaching and improving this, you can gain the most precious blue faith experience. Beneath the church you'll find a series of tunnels and a library which will allow you to research the items of the world. Quests are given by the various and often nefarious characters you'll have the displeasure of meeting and attract on the character screen, but again don't fret as they won't time out. Everything you do in Graveyard Keeper will drain your stamina, shown in blue here. The management of this is one of the most important aspects of making the most of each and every game day. Early on this will seem to disappear almost instantly, leaving you with little option but to return home, sleep and repeat. When you get to grips with the game, you soon realise how important the cooking abilities are, and they can negate much of the loss of stamina. Controlling the character is easy, with nothing overly unusual here. The left stick controls the movement, and a single press of the Y will undertake most in-game actions. You'll be able to equip consumables to the D-pad buttons for quick access. I did miss a dedicated run button, and the combat also is tied heavily to that stamina bar, so much so that you'll find yourself unable to swing your sword at times. Combat situations are few and far between, and usually just serve as a way of collecting materials from different creatures. It's all about crafting and building to improve that graveyard. The next interesting mechanic is the way the days work. Each one represents a sin, and early on it can be very confusing as to what they mean, but what I will say is that certain NPCs will only be available on certain days. There's farming here, unlocking new areas, fishing, shopping and growing the faith, and subsequently donations of your parishioners. It's all in a day's work for a time-travelling dimension-hopping dead guy who just wants to get home to his missus. Right back at the start of this review I mentioned grind, and this is important. You'll spend so much time grinding out different things, chopping trees, picking berries, planting crops, building better headstones. Everything needs to be resourced by the player, and this is where the game could be improved in my opinion. For example, say you need certain ingredients for a build. Where's the quick option to pin them to the hub so you can see them easily? Instead you'll have to memorize what you need, or better still go old school like me and take screenshots of the different ones. It's a stretch to say the game needs a tutorial, but it would certainly help some players. I can see some giving up before they experience even a fraction of what it has to offer. With countless systems and aspects from greats such as Stardew Valley, but so many secrets to find and a decent sized map to explore, you'll sink hours and hours and then discover a completely new mechanic out of nowhere. Zombies. Now, all of this review is focused on the core game, but there's also a DLC pack at launch called Breaking Dead. What this does is it automates many of the systems in the game by allowing you to recruit undead helpers. This in fact would negate many of the issues I have with it, as you often find yourself just overwhelmed with the sheer number of tasks to do, and having others to help you, I believe, is why the developers created this DLC. Gameplay for me is challenging but solid, but there are, as is the case with this style of game, times where you'll spend a whole lot of time doing very little. Conversely, there are many eureka moments with this one, and the burial and management of the church centers the experience in a similar way to your farmwood in other management sims. Gameplay for me scores 16 out of 20. It's a very addictive and rewarding game. There are a few tweaks I would definitely make, things like a persistent minimap on screen or quick access to pin recipes. As for controls, they're fairly straightforward and easy, but again a couple of missed opportunities like no run button or perhaps some form of dodge roll to make combat a touch more engaging. Controls score 15 out of 20. Visually, the game is the best of pixel art in my opinion. The basic look belies some lovely lighting and weather effects. Whether it's sheets of rain lashing down, a blanket of fog, or just butterflies and trees blowing in a cool breeze, it all looks very nice indeed. Musically, I enjoyed the slightly unusual, often oriental leanings of the soundtrack. There's a touch of repetition here, but the score's very catchy and tends to err on the easy listening side. What I wasn't too impressed by was a lack of some seemingly key sound effects. As rain lashed down all around me with lovely lighting effects to boot, there was something jarring about there being a distinct lack of any rain sound. Perhaps it's a bug, I'm not sure. Dynamic sounds are the main area the game's hit and miss. Some are great and some are just missing. Audio scores 14 out of 20. Musically it's lovely, but perhaps some more variety and ambient sounds wouldn't go amiss. Performance is rock solid in docked and handheld mode, and actually much of the footage you're seeing is from docked. Visuals score 17 out of 20. The game costs £16.19, €17.99 or $17.99. It's a very good length, and combined with the bundled DLC, you'll be hard pressed to not get your money's worth. The issue will be when someone is trying to decide between this and say Stardew Valley, which is around a third cheaper and offers more content. That's then a very tough call. I'd love to see them add some form of multiplayer to the game, Although having said that, the story and general design tends to lean towards a more solo experience. I still think the game offers good value for money. I would give value 16 out of 20. Graveyard Keeper is a tough game to get into, but once you do, it doesn't release its vice-like grip, introducing new avenues for your time at a steady rate. The real hooks of balancing your stamina, improving your graveyard, give it a focus, and the DLC will only improve some of the shortfalls. I think many people will enjoy this quirky, slightly disgusting and sometimes unusual tale of a Graveyard Keeper, and it makes for an interesting and enjoyable game. It scores a SwitchUp score of 78%. Thanks so much to all the patron saints who support the channel every month. If you want to join them, remember we give away a free Nintendo Switch game each month to them and also to one lucky subscriber, and that's coming up in just a few days. Leave a comment down below, let us know what you think of this one, and for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!